Today's review is of the Springfield TRP Operator. This review is broken down into 6 parts: accuracy, shootability, suitability, maintenance, abuse, and the nutshell. First up is accuracy. If the pistol doesn't shoot, who cares about it? It's a 1911, it should be very accurate. Overall, I saw my best groups were around 2 1/4, 2.5 inches at 25 yards. That was with accurate ammunition. For example, Federal Gold Medal match. I did have a couple of malfunctions with that ammunition. 1911s sometimes don't like semi-wad cutters. It's an odd looking bullet. With Gorilla Silverback, which I found to be extremely accurate and reliable in every other pistol, and was reliable in this pistol, it wasn't as accurate as I expected it to be. This was their 230 grain FBI load, and it could be that this pistol just simply did not like the shape of that bullet. It was decently accurate, but it was not as accurate as I've come to expect for that ammunition. Moving on to shootability. Maybe the pistol is super accurate, but something weird about it doesn't shoot right. Well, it's a 1911, what can I say? 1911s shoot great. As much as people love to complain about the 1911 and make fun of it, talk about how it's obsolete, 1911s shoot great, and this one's no exception. But it is an extremely shootable handgun. It's not something you're likely to lose grip on. I found it to be something that I could just pick up and shoot at extreme distances out past 100 yards and hit the target, no problem. Suitability, it's a boat anchor. This pistol, it's a steel frame with a rail. It's extremely heavy. I think it's about 38 ounces. I would not want to carry this inside the waistband especially. It's really aggressive. The textures here, even on the grip panels themselves, these can be changed, but of course this 20 LPI checkering is pretty permanent. It's very heavy. For me, this would not make a good inside the waistband carry gun. But if you want a home defense gun and you like 1911s, if you're a cop who loves 1911s, you want a duty gun that's pretty well, fitted out from the factory, I could totally see this as your first choice. Maintenance, okay. I'm not gonna take this pistol apart. Normally we take guns apart. You can find out how to take apart a 1911 in 1 million plus videos on YouTube. Yes, it has a bull barrel, it's slightly different. First off, this grip panel over here became just a tiny bit wiggly. So we'd need to tighten up these grip screws. First time I shot this pistol, I think was up in Alaska, and the front sight, see this has 3-dot night sights, 2 at the rear, adjustable, and then a fixed front night sight. So I've had this pistol, like I said, for about 6 months, and for 5.98 months, the front sight has been dead. These used to have a tritium, really nice glowing front sight. I called Trebuchet and I said, hey, how cold can your sights get? And they said -40. And I said, well, I was out at -36 and the sight died. -40, -36, something like that. It's extremely hard on all things, including sights, and I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. They offered to replace it, but it is something to consider if you are going to be operating in extremely cold environments. Make sure to keep an eye on your sights, and you don't want to draw your pistol from the holster and find that your front sight's gone when you expect it to be there. Finally, on a maintenance note, this has the ArmoryKote finish, so frankly, it did really well as far as corrosion resistance goes. I did pick up a little bit of rust on the rear sight. I was kind of abusing this thing. I was leaving it wet, in the corner after I'd really abused it for a while, so I was not maintaining it properly, but it still functioned. That brings me to abuse. Springfield describes this pistol as tactically proven and intentionally designed to work under the worst conditions you'll encounter. I wanted to test that out, and I was skeptical. I'm a fan of the 1911, don't get me wrong, but I also know that it's under the most extreme conditions, it can occasionally encounter problems. So we took it up to Alaska, dumped it in the snow, and pulled it out. I did encounter problems. It malfunctioned actually quite a bit. I'm not blaming the gun, I'm blaming the lube that they put on the gun. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to figure out what that was. I called Springfield and they said, oh, there's 3 or 4 or 5 different oils or greases that we might put on. I wasn't really happy with that. I wish they would find one that works for their gun and stick with it. It was like molasses. The pistol just did not even want to cycle once it was cold. So once I cleaned that, whatever it was, off, the pistol worked fine. And that was impressive because we're talking -20, -30 degrees. The pistol still works. So brought it down to Arizona, extreme heat, lots of nastiness here. I don't know if you can tell how much I'm sweating right now, but it's really hot in here. Still worked. In the course of our normal shooting, just all the putting rounds down range on target, no malfunctions. The rest of our abuse testing, we ran it through our standard protocol: dust, water, mud, and the trebuchet. Did fine in the dust test. I was really impressed. It took a lot of dust. It looked nasty, but it still functioned. Water test, It initially malfunctioned, and then I realized that I was using one of my own 1911 mags that was not using the magazines that had been provided with the pistol. So I ran it through the test again with the provided magazines, and I did not encounter malfunctions. I want you to understand it did have malfunctions in water. Those were with some old magazines that I had. When I used it with the magazine supplied with the gun, it did not malfunction. Take that however you wish. You can take it as a malfunction, or you can take it as, hey, the pistol functioned fine when used as supplied. Mud, we did encounter malfunctions regardless of the magazines I was using. It does not like mud. I was able to get a few shots off though, which I like. A lot of guns, I've tested a bunch of guns in mud now, and sometimes it's just, you can't even get one shot off. Or you get one shot and then it's really difficult to clear. This pistol, I was at least able to get a couple shots downrange, so, you know, not the greatest result, but not the worst result either. The Trebuchet Test. We actually threw this thing from the Trebuchet 4 different times. We tested it for a function after the first time. So after our Trebuchet throw, the sights took a direct hit. See if they're still on. We're at 100 yards from a reduced size steel IPSC. Miss. Miss. As you can see, the hits are actually in a pretty narrow strip. There's just vertical stringing. Essentially, you know, there's a couple things that can cause this. Absolutely, me in terms of, you know, my trigger squeeze and sight alignment, those are absolutely critical for shooting at 100 yards, especially with a 45. Other things that can cause this, you know, we're using mixed ammunition. We're using S&B and Remington UMC, so there's going to be some velocity differences, and you'll absolutely see a bit of vertical stringing if, you know, one ammunition's a bit faster than the other. I think most of my hits were just over the head, but really I'm very happy with how these sights stayed on target, even though, you know, it took a hard hit from the Trebuchet. I was kind of wondering how those adjustable sights would do, but not concerned at all. So finally, the nutshell. I went into this review very skeptical of this pistol. It is sort of ostentatious for me as far as the 1911 goes. No, it's not shiny, but I mean, it says tactical, it says operators, different colors. It's got these really cool looking grips, super aggressive texture up here. I was like, man, this pistol is kind of compensating for something, but it's actually a really good gun. I had all these skepticisms of it at the beginning. I was like, well, it's got metal injection molded parts and I'm expecting something to break. Nothing broke, it worked the whole time. It was still accurate at the end. The sights never changed. As a 1911 fan, I like it, but even as someone who's also skeptical of 1911s at times, I still think it's very relevant, and I think it's something that if you feel meets your needs, you would not be disappointed in at all. Thank you for watching this review. It was a long time coming for us, and we hope it was worth it for you to spend the time to watch it. We have a lot more reviews like this coming your way. We have written reviews on our website, video reviews, obviously. We have them on Facebook and YouTube. We have an Instagram channel where we share really cool photos of some guns we have that just come in, or maybe stuff we've Cerakoted. Our sister company, CeraKote Services, does a lot of cool work. So I hope you're enjoying it, and thanks for watching. We found this amiguito hanging out in the impact area. So we're gonna move him out into the desert so he doesn't get hurt by some splash off these steel targets. But we want him to have a long and happy horny-toed life. Just open desert. No, not that way. That way, there you go. Now you're safe.